Joining me now is the Labour Party's candidate in Warminster West, Tony Free. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why should Warminster West choose you?
Well, I think most people would agree it's time for something different than what we've experienced over the last few years. And that's what Labour Party at the moment represents, a new look.
And the Labour Party, I don't suppose it's entirely relevant to the election, but 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, the Labour Party didn't stand in any of the Warminster seats at all. So what's changed in that time?
Yes, it is very sad that people haven't had the chance to vote for Labour recently. But what's changed is very simple. It's a certain person called Jeremy Corbyn. Our own membership was 114 2 years ago, and it's rocketed up to 600 odd. And our meetings, which used to just be 6 people, now we've had to move to bigger rooms. I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and that's the reason.
Right. When a Labour candidate stood in the Cockpit by-election a little while ago,
yes,
didn't do overly well.
No, I think that's true. And one reason for that is because people know that Labour were just standing in the odd seat now and again, but this is very different because now we've got a full team covering the whole of Warminster, Trowbridge and Westbury. Okay.
And you're standing in the West against Pip Ridout.
Yes.
So why? What's
well,
I'll say what's wrong with Pip, but that's maybe the wrong word. But what are the Conservatives not doing?
No, it is the wrong word. I mean, Pip Ridout is a formidable councillor, and she's done an awful lot of work, and I've got a great deal of respect for her. But I don't respect the policies, and I don't respect the policies of the party that she represents. I'm standing because I think there's a better life available for people in Wiltshire, and the Labour Party is the party to do it.
And I think, certainly from my experience, one of the, or possibly the biggest issue in Warminster West is the West Warminster Urban Extension, which is coming. That's going to happen. There's not a lot that can be done to stop or change that, is there?
Well, there was a lot that could be done to change it, and that was when the plans were drawn up, the area plans were drawn up. In those plans, the original Wiltshire plan, there's no detailed mention of social and affordable housing, which is the key issue in any development that we have. To just build houses that are too expensive for local people to buy makes us just a dormitory town, really, or a town of second homes. We need homes that are affordable to rent or to buy for young families and young people.
So what can you do if you're elected? What can you actually do to influence this now that the urban extension programme is rolling?
Well, it seems at the moment the detail's not there, but we can only campaign and keep hammering on about the fact that we need smaller houses. Just building large homes that people can't afford is wrong.
And you feel that the planning process can be used to do this?
I do, but at the stage of the area plan. I mean, there are going to be the updates to the area plan, and we must make sure that we have a big input to keep making this case that we need smaller homes.
Okay. And you talk about affordable homes for young people. I know something else that Labour is concerned about are the youth services.
Absolutely. Well, the youth what's happened with the youth services in Wiltshire is a disgrace. I mean, to get awards for cutting when the cut actually means that you do away completely with the service is ridiculous. I mean, just to have, instead of having whatever youth workers had before, 140 odd, now just to cut that down to having 7 workers who are just facilitators, who merely help local people to form local things, is just ridiculous. And it's a short-sighted policy that doesn't take into account things like crime. Youth crime has to be related to boredom and not being treated as members of society. We need to include the youth, and to do that you have to have youth facilities. But
money needs to be saved somewhere, doesn't it? Because the Wiltshire Council pot is reducing. So if not youth services, where?
Well, it isn't the case of that. If you look across the spectrum of how the council is handling the business, they're putting out as much as they can to private companies. Private companies need to make profits, and the amount we're spending is for a far lesser service. I mean, the first thing that I would do is every time that one of these contracts comes up for renewal, we would look at how we could take on that service ourselves, because we know that we could do it cheaper, and that's where the money would come from.
So from less privatisation.
Absolutely, yes.
Or
Yes,
use of contractors.
definitely.
One of those contracts is the roads, and people are often concerned about the state
Yes.
of roads.
Yes.
But with the work that's going on in Boreham Road, it seems that work is now being done.
Yes, but absolutely. But if you're talking about the roads, when you consider in the last year the council had to spend £100,000 on compensation for people's vehicles that have gone into potholes, that's the way that money is spent. It's being spent on a sticking plaster basis instead of planning ahead.
Okay. You're also standing for the town council
Yes.
as well, which is obviously has slightly different responsibilities to the unitary authority. So what would you bring to your role as one of the four candidates, four councillors if you were elected for Warminster West?
Well, I think initially it would be a campaigning role, and a campaigning role to try and stop the transfer of so many services to the town council. The services are being transferred by Wiltshire, but not transferred with funds to keep them running. To transfer them with just 5 years of budget and then have to spend a lot of that money on bringing the things up to the standard they should be at already is just ludicrous, and it's a short-term fix that may look good now on the books, but it won't look good in the long term.
And do you support the view that's being circulated by some of the independent group that the civic centre should be sold off for corporate headquarters and the town should buy the old town hall?
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, the civic centre, the move to the civic centre, whatever people thought about it before, has worked well. People use it. Why would you want to do that and incur more costs? And nobody wants to buy the other building anyway. So.
And finally, just to finish off, because we are running out of time, the question I'm asking everybody,
Yes.
if you're elected, what do you hope to achieve if you could pick one thing?
Oh, without question, that we were providing something more for young people. And by young people, I'm not talking about youth services. I'm talking about all the under 25s who have to stay at home because they're not allowed to claim housing benefit. They can't afford to buy or rent a home. And I feel very sad for those people, particularly because 3 years ago the County Council did away with the existing housing list of 17,000 people and changed the criteria. One of the criteria being that if you were under 25 you couldn't apply. And so after they'd finished, they had only less than 1,700 on the list, only 10% of the list as it was before. We need that list restored so that we know the full extent of the problem. To try and deal with housing for young people is ridiculous unless you know how many young people need a home.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming in today, and good luck on the 4th of May, polling day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.